Hey, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to grab a piece of clothing from my alterations pile and either fix it or freshen it up. So firstly I grabbed this pair of overalls I made a few years back using a vintage Kendone sheet and a vintage 80s pattern. I love the fabric, but the crutch was way too high, and I think I only ever wore it once, to be honest, so it needs to be freshened up for sure. So first up I'm going to change the shorts into a skirt, and to do that I unpick the seam, the crotch seam, lay the garment flat, and with both front pieces right sides together I grabbed a ruler, I drew a line down from the top of the curve to the bottom hem, and I'll show you that now. Then pin in place and flip it over. Do the same thing to the back two pieces. So draw your line, rule it up, pin it. When you're ready, take it over to your sewing machine and sew both seams down with a straight stitch, and then chop the excess off with your rotary cutter or your scissors, and then overlock, and that's it. That's the skirt part done. Next up, I decided I wanted to switch out the buttons because they weren't matching. I had yellow ones on the front and then two chunky white ones on the straps. So Arch and I had a search through my buttons to see which ones would match, and we decided on some pink ones. And I find that changing the buttons can be a really simple way of giving a new life to a piece of clothing, making it feel new again, even if it's just a little bit different. So this is where I got up to, and I'm really happy with it at the moment. So the next step is to try it on and see what it looks like. And when I tried it on, I realized it's still too short. There's no way I would actually wear it at that length. So as always, I decided to fall back on my favorite little hack, and I chucked on a ruffle. Luckily, I managed to find this piece of fabric in my stash. I wasn't sure if I had any left, but I found the contrasting piece to the original fabric, and I cut out a big giant rectangle, and then I ended up cutting that into cutting that in half and making two long rectangles. Okay, so adding a ruffle is super easy as well. Basically you just lay the two pieces right sides together, sew the two short ends together and overlock as well. Then you do a long gathering stitch on your machine. Once you've done that, you have to manually pull the strings to make the gathers, and you gather it slowly until you fit it to the size of your skirt. And I realized I'd actually finished the hem before I realized it was too short, and so I had to unpick all that before I attached the ruffle. Once I've pinned the ruffle to the hem of the skirt, then I just take it to the machine and I slowly and carefully sew a straight stitch all around the hem. Make sure your ruffles are evenly spaced as well. Okay, next up, finish your seam, your ruffle seam on the overlocker, and then flick it over and overlock the bottom hem, and then take it back to your machine, sew up your hem, and you're good to go. So there we are, a super simple and reasonably quick alteration featuring this vintage Kendone sheet and a vintage 80s pattern. As always, thank you for watching, and if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel for more of my art adventures.